1. Backstory. I am a federal government employee who had just finished a successful business trip. I'm flying home and had a layover in a large international airport. I had a long layover and had gotten a bite to eat and had gotten no notifications about my gate being moved from one airport to the other. I and several other unlucky passengers had gone to the original gate and sat wondering where the plane was as it was time to board. Finally, an employee tells us the gate was changed and it's now boarding and set to take off in 8 minutes. We all take off sprinting for the correct gate. For the record, I am a 55-year-old woman who does actually run 10K races, so I wasn't doing too badly at this. I get to the correct gate and try to pull up my boarding pass on my phone. It wouldn't work. I made a few more attempts to pull it up, but it didn't work. The gate clerk asked me to wait and said she would print one up. I was the last to board the plane, but I made the flight. It should be smooth sailing from here. Boy, was I wrong. This was a small commuter jet with 2 seats on one side and one on the other. My seat was towards the rear of the plane on the single seat side. I walked down the aisle and encountered a rather rotund, angry man. His leg was sticking out in the aisle, and I didn't see it as I had my carry-on bag in front of me. I bumped his leg. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see your leg."
"You should be sorry. Watch where you're fucking going from now on."
I apologize again. "But could you please move your leg so I can get to my seat?" He scowls at me, but moves his leg. I place my bag under the seat and buckle my belt. After about 15 minutes, we still have not left the gate. The passengers are starting to wonder why. The pilot came on and tells us there will be a delay, as the plane still needs fuel and no fuel trucks were available at that time. It would be a 30-minute wait.
"What the fuck? Is everyone here so goddamn stupid they can't fuel a plane?"
"Sir, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but—"
"I don't give a fuck how sorry you are. This is outrageous."
After 45 minutes, we finally get fuel. The plane should have departed an hour and a half ago. It's now almost 10 p.m. A few rows ahead of me was an apparently non-English-speaking couple in front of me with their 3-year-old grandson with them. The boy was getting tired and frustrated. He started crying, but he was in his seat, so the plane left the gate. We had been away from the gate less than a minute, and he decided to throw a tantrum. He undid his belt and jumped over Grandma into the aisle and started to run down the aisle. The attendant sees the lad and notifies the cockpit. The plane stops on the tarmac. Grandma catches the kid and puts him back in his seat with the belt on, which he immediately undoes again and runs screaming up and down the aisle. Grandpa catches him this time and returns him to his seat and puts the belt back on him. He's still screaming and crying, but he's seated. We start moving again for about 2 more minutes when this kid's head pops up over his seat. The attendant calls the pilot again and the plane stops. The angry man is saying many things that I cannot put in this narrative. Grandma gets him again and goes back to the seat, but puts him in her lap. The attendant tries to explain that this is not allowed, but she doesn't understand. Neither does Grandpa. The attendant asks if anyone can communicate with the couple. A few try, but they don't seem to understand. The pilot decides to remove the family from the plane. So back to T9, the gate we go. We wait about 25 minutes for a representative from the airline to come and remove this family. The representative comes to remove the family. All of a sudden, Grandpa gets up and yells,
"What do you mean we have to get off this plane? I paid good money for this flight."
Obviously no problem with English. The family was removed, and we finally got on our way. It's now 11:45, 15 minutes after the plane was originally slated to land, and it was a 3-hour flight. The attendant began the drink service for the flight after about 30 minutes. Once again, the angry man's leg was once again in the aisle. The poor frazzled attendant accidentally bumps his leg.
"The fuck is wrong with you? This whole goddamn trip has been a total pile of horse shit. I want your fucking name and the manager's fucking name."
"My name is Helga, and you can call this number in the morning. But I still need to finish the drink service in the back. Can you please move your leg so I can get by?" Angry man moves his leg but keeps grumbling. He stands up in the aisle.
"I'm not finished talking to you yet."
starts to move down the aisle. I jump into the aisle, tired of this obnoxious fool. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
The fuck are you?
The person sitting behind you. I just wanted to let you know that you missed a perfect opportunity back there.
What do you mean?
You should have asked the attendant for some cheese.
Cheese? Why would I want that?
To go with the wine you've been having since you got on this plane. Everyone within earshot was now laughing hysterically. Angry Man's face turns red with anger.
I want to know your name. I want to report you to the airlines.
So I say to him in a voice just above a whisper, Sir, I work for the federal government. You really don't want to know my name, but I would love to know yours. I say as I smile very nicely. The angry man's face loses all color, and he scurries back to his seat and sits down quietly. He politely addressed the attendant as ma'am for the rest of the flight. After we landed and we were getting off the plane, the attendant thanked me for what I did, but wanted to know what I said to him. I winked at her and told her to have a better day tomorrow. 2. So this happened during 2016. I'm French, and a few years ago the government created a program named Service Civique, where people between 16 and 25 can enroll and work for an association in France or in another country for at least 6 months as volunteers, and got some monetary compensation in return. I enrolled and got recruited for a group that would work in touristic sites in Paris. The objective was to improve the tourist experience for the city and encourage the discovery of other parts of the city. This group had around 60 volunteers working for them at all times, with 2 supervisors overseeing 30 volunteers, arranged in teams of 5, and they tried to max up volunteers from different backgrounds. In my team, there were only 4, because one of the guys quit early, but we managed just fine. So there were 2 girls, me and my teammates, Team 1, 1 girl from Algeria, teammates 2, and the only guy of the group was Maghrebian. The different teams would rotate between missions and different sites. The least liked one were the information tasks, where we would set up a mobile information desk and hand over flyers and information directly to tourists. It was just boring and tiring, and also we got cold and rained on. And the most loathed sight for our group was the Eiffel Tower. We would stand under it after the security line, so just getting there was a pain, but on top of that, it was the most windy sight. And there were pigeons everywhere. I even got pooped on, so not a fan. On the upside, we got to eat at the employee restaurant, and it's on a secret level of the tower, so yeah, that part was cool. Working at that site was very different than the others because it was an association separate from the city that was in charge of it, and because the Eiffel Tower, being the symbol that it is considered a huge potential target for terrorist attack. So that association, in exchange for letting us in, imposed their own set of rules, which, okay, that's fair. So our whole group of 30 volunteers attends a briefing for what we can and cannot do. Among those rules, we cannot give info on the tower outside of the ticket price and how to get in. If someone needs more information, we need to direct them to the info desk of the Eiffel Tower, since we don't work for them. After the briefing, we get a free tour of the tower, and from the first floor we see a huge fresco of stylized black and white hands, holding each other drawn on the ground under the tower. You had to be on the first floor to see it clearly. And that's our setup. So we were all chatting around the desk when our Karen of the story came up to us looking a bit upset with her grandchild. Before she even opens her mouth, I think to myself that she looks like a Versaillaise, which is a slang term used in French to describe basically a classy religious Karen. So Karen comes up to us, and the weirdest interaction in my life begins.
Do you know what the Arabic words under the Eiffel Tower says?
So to be fair, the Karen wasn't screaming or even using an upset tone, but she was very demanding. Teammate 1 and I instantly agreed to take charge of her since she didn't say or do anything racist yet, and we didn't want to give her a chance to. Where did you see the Arabic writings, madam? She pointed down to where the fresco was. We tried to explain to her what it is, but...
No, it's not that. They're not hands. It's Arabic.
At this point, teammate 3, who was already on break and who had stepped away when the lady came over to let us work properly, was rejoined by teammate 2, and were watching us from afar, trying to use our phone and a tablet to try and show her the fresco, But Karen is adamant that there's Arabic written under the Eiffel Tower, that she wanted to know what it said and why it was there. I told her that I knew what Arabic looked like. I have family from Morocco and Algeria. And it wasn't that. However, Karen was so sure of herself that to try and make sense of this mind-numbing situation, I went there to check. It had been a while since the tour, it was in January, and maybe there had been changes. Our team weren't there often, so it was not outside of the realm of possibilities. And no, there wasn't any Arabic written anywhere, and the more I looked, the less I understood why she thought it was Arabic. Honestly, it may as well have been Sanskrit or even cursive. So as I make my way back, trying to think of a way to explain to Karen that we were right, I see her leaving with her grandkid. I go back to the desk, as well as teammate 2 and 3, and teammate 1 explained to us that she told Karen that she couldn't help her and sent her to the Eiffel Tower help desk. That's when I realized something and turned and tell teammate 1. You did the right thing since we're not supposed to give that kind of information. We all forgot about that rule, and so we all got the moment of, oh right, we don't work here. I mean, technically yes, but in the spirit definitely not. Afterwards, we were more attentive to respect that rule and didn't get any more weird or crazy questions like that. But seriously, why did Karen come to us for an answer just to insist that she knows better than us, and kept insisting after it was obvious that we clearly did not have the info she wanted? Anyway, we didn't interact with her again. We didn't even notice her leaving, but I'm pretty sure she didn't visit the tower that day, since she would have had to pass by us to get in the queue. Go figure what happened. Well, laughed at how weird she was and moved on. 3. I work in a small, wonderful little print shop as a film developer and print lab manager. I got promoted since I'm one of 2 employees plus my boss. My boss had been working on a poster and a few other things for a customer. I didn't know anything about this order, the same way he doesn't know anything about what I'm working on. So when a woman called into the shop asking if their order is ready, I asked for her name and didn't recognize it as something I had done, which isn't weird, since I primarily worked with film, so I knew it wasn't film. So I asked if she ordered in-store or online. She angrily replied, "What do you mean by that?" "Did you order prints on our website or did you drop something off in the store? We also do restorations, so it could be anything." She went on to say, "I was told earlier that my order is ready, and you're telling me you can't find it?" Like what? I asked her to give me a second, since I didn't do her order, so I can ask my coworker. He let me know that my boss finished earlier. I tell the customer that yes, it's ready. She then asks how much does she owe. Since I didn't have the order in front of me, I had to go grab it to see the receipt, so I told her, "Please just give me a second to grab your order so that I can see your balance." She was talking crap about what an inconvenience this whole thing was and stuff like that. "How don't you know my balance?" I ignored her insults, but, why? It's a small store. Literally takes me 30 seconds to get from the back of the store to the front of the store. But this woman is angry. So I was like, "Just need to give me a second. I didn't do your order, so I don't know anything about it." I let her know her balance, and she wanted to pay over the phone. She didn't even give me a second, and she was already telling me her card number. I asked her to hold on while I open your account on the computer. She was so impatient. I let her know when I'm ready, and my usual protocol is if no one is in the store, I let them know this, and proceed to say the card numbers as I punch them in so that the customer can wait for this before continuing. Nope, as soon as I started doing that, she angrily said, "Stop saying my numbers out loud." She then proceeds to rush through her card number while I type it in. With my luck, the number was invalid. She was so angry about this. I told her that sorry, I probably missed a digit. Please repeat it, slowly. Went through it again. It went through. All good. She kept repeating that I better put the receipt in the bag with her prints. I told her, okay. Then she asked if my boss was there. I told her no, that he had already left for the day. She just said, "Fine, see you soon," and hung up. All right. I told my coworker about the fun conversation that I just had. I get back to whatever it was I was doing before. Not even 15 minutes later, the phone rings and the caller ID tells me it's the same woman as was on that order. So I told my coworker that it was his turn to deal with her. He helped my boss with the order and knew more, but also, I could not handle going through that again. I would literally cry. Once my coworker hung up, he informed me that she asked him for a photo album, was upset that we only have a single type of small album for 4x6 prints, and it's a solid black plastic cover one. She bought it and was upset that she had to give her credit card info again because,
"Why don't you save it on the computer?"
My coworker and I laughed about that since she had literally asked me not to repeat her number out loud with no one being in the store, like, are you good? And asked him to roll the big poster print into a cardboard roll that is used for mailing. We don't typically do that. We normally just wrap it in brown paper to protect the print from scratches and everything. My coworker did that, and all was good. She hung up on him mid-sentence, by the way. My coworker and I were now expecting an angry Karen to walk in sometime before closing. Half an hour after the second call, she called again. We have both memorized the name at this point. My coworker told me it was my turn, and thoughts and prayers. Thanks, you fool. I answered with my normal greeting and was overjoyed to hear a click when I finished and dial tone. All right, cool. Didn't want to talk to you either, honestly. All is good. We go on with our work. Another half an hour goes by, and she calls the fourth time. I looked at my coworker, who smiles like... did the last time really count? Plus, he had left the phone far away from him while I had it with me. Ugh, guess not. So I answer. And she asks to speak to my coworker. Ha! I put her on hold as I hand over the phone, giving him my thoughts and prayers as he laughs. At the end of that, he tells me that she had asked for the print to be taken out of the cardboard roll because she didn't want it to be rolled up. My coworker explained to her that the paper was rolled up before being printed on, so it being rolled up isn't damaging the print, and that it will be fine when you place it in the frame. All truth. For the size that she ordered, we don't have envelopes that size or anything to flatten the print, so we didn't have a choice. But she was adamant on the print being in a bag. She angrily hung up on him. No lie, every time a customer walked in, we would get so nervous to go help them. She never came in today, and my coworker joked that he would call in sick tomorrow. She later sent her son to pick up the prints. Not a fun end to the story, but low-key expecting another call with some type of complaint. When my boss finally came in, we told him, and he immediately laughed, knowing exactly who we were talking about. Apparently he has known this family for at least 20 years. Says they have always been absolutely awful people, except the one son that came in today, who is so well-mannered and appreciative. 4. I work for a small bookkeeping company that mostly does state and federal payroll taxes for small companies in the Pacific Northwest of the USA. We also perform a wide array of business consulting services, ranging from getting liquor licenses for nightclubs to obtaining resellers' permits for construction companies. Basically, we do whatever a small business needs to operate that the business owners don't have time to do themselves. For the most part, we work with owner-operators, but this particular company had a corporate board, which will be important later. There was a small property management company that we had worked with for several years, for which we only did bookkeeping and payroll tax preparation. There was a president of this company who was really just a glorified operations manager who gave his best effort to the company. I liked the guy, and he was really nice. He was our single point of contact. But he didn't really come off as a president of anything. However, he had worked for the company for decades and had done an excellent job of maintaining the grounds, and had done an okay job of administration. And by okay, I mean it would have been an impressive job if the groundskeeper was also in charge of admin, but I don't want to talk shit about this gentle soul, so I won't. He had trained a young man to take over his position when he was getting ready to retire, and his protege was basically trained to be an operations manager, nothing more. The prior president of the company, who only had this designation to sign checks, has strongly vouched for this guy to take over his position, and because everyone liked him, it happened. When the former president retired from the company, the new guy was brought in to replace him. The corporate board of the property management company gave him the position of operations manager, which is exactly the position the former guy should have had. Suddenly there was a new influx of board members, many of whom were unimpressed with the previous president, and were very suspicious of any decisions this guy made, including the decision for his replacement. In fact, I knew that the reinvigorated board was thinking of firing the operations manager simply because he was recommended by the previous president. The reason I knew this was because my company was in direct contact with them. My first interaction with the new operations manager was on the phone, and it was a threat to withhold payment on my company's invoice because some ongoing bookkeeping project that he was not involved with had not been completed. We were working directly with the board of directors on this project, and the board knew about this project's timeline, and my company was well within the timeline. The new operations manager didn't know anything about the details. His threat to withhold payment was met by me with stunned silence, after which he said that he was just kidding. Damn, this guy was clueless and kind of a jackass. However, I felt this guy needed a chance, and it would be unfair if the new operations manager were fired simply because he was recommended by the prior president, so I decided I would help him out. This story takes place when in the United States there was a ton of money going to companies that kept people working throughout the COVID shutdown. Yeah, this was last year. My company routinely contacted all of our clients about governmental resources that were available for them, and for this particular property management company, I contacted the new operations manager to give him a chance to make a name for himself. I told the operations manager how he could impress the property management company by overseeing value-adding tasks that require labor that would pretty much be funded by the government. I had run the numbers and gave him how much value he could bring to the company. I told him directly that he could put on his CV that he saved his company so many tens of thousands of dollars, and that this would make him popular with the board of directors. I specifically told him that this would be good for his career. He said, "That sounds great," and then I didn't hear back from him. When the deadline for the grants and loans got close, I finally decided to jump over the operations manager and took the ideas directly to the board of directors. Of course, they went with the ideas from our company. I also heard from them about how the operations manager characterized my pitch. He told the board that I was telling them to get into debt and do a bunch of work. He also disparaged me and my company. The last conversation I had with a very humbled, but still clueless operations manager, when he realized we had gone over his head, was when he asked me if he had to sign for the corporate loans and grants. Noted. That's what boards are for. A couple weeks ago, I received a call from the property management's lawyer, who asked us if our company could take over any business administrative tasks that the operations manager had performed. I said yes. No, I didn't get this guy fired. He's still the operations manager, but with severely reduced responsibilities and advancement possibilities. I wish he would have taken my advice, but methinks it just wasn't his game. Anyway, that's my story. Thanks for listening. 5. I am a 6'4" dude, 310 pounds, who's usually very patient with people. You kinda have to be when you work in a grocery store where people try to get discounts every other day. The place in said grocery store is the butcher, block, and meat department. This entitled idiot, a male Karen, came into my store, asking for one of my co-workers, Jay. Because the Karen talked to Jay on the phone about getting a prime rib cut a specific way. Jay used to be a chef in Las Vegas about 2 years ago before the apocalypse happened and was let go. Because of this, Kay thought Jay was a butcher, so my other co-worker, Calliope, tried to tell him that he's only a clerk, not a meat cutter. Karen didn't like that and kept telling us that he wants to talk to Jay about getting his ribs cut. Jay is helping another customer at this point. The following conversation happened. I've already told you, he's just a clerk.
And why did he say he'd get me a roast?
I don't know. Let me get an actual butcher.
Wait, you guys aren't butchers either?
No, we're all clerks except for that guy. She points to the butcher putting steaks on the wall.
No, I want to talk to Jay.
Jesus Christ, fine, do whatever you want, whatever.
Fuck you.
Calliope didn't hear that last part, but I certainly did. By now, another customer walks up, so I go to help them. Then Karen comes up to me and asks,
"What's her problem?"
I'm starting to lose my patience. Nothing's wrong with her, she was just trying to correct you and you started to yell at her. Karen looks stunned that someone would talk back to him like that. This Karen is about 6'3", so it makes sense that people wouldn't talk back to him. But today was my day to shine. After helping the lady get her ground beef, Karen starts talking to Jay about what happened.
And then she started to get short with me.
Because you started shouting at her. Karen interrupts me with a hand in my face while still looking at Jay.
I'm talking to him,
pointing at Jay. Then I, with the most deathly glare I could conjure, put both of my fists on my hips and waited. All I could think was, come on, motherfucker, try me.
Then this guy,
pointing at me,
started to disrespect me.
I'm thinking to myself, oh, you're in for it now. Then I say out loud, and loudly, but not yelling, do you understand how dog shit this place is and how little we get paid just to deal with idiots like you? You started yelling at us because we were trying to correct you. I don't get paid enough to deal with fucking people like you. Karen didn't want to look me in the eyes after that. I was huffing and puffing, and Calliope told me to get in the back room. Now, Calliope is higher up than me, so I knew I was in trouble, put my head down, walked to the back room. When I looked up, she had the biggest smile on her face with her hand up. I gave her a high five, and she told me that she was proud of me. We joked that we were probably going to get in trouble, but I didn't care. This was the first time I had ever yelled at a customer. Let me tell you, that shit was therapeutic. My soul has never been lighter than today. When we went back outside, Karen was talking to the butcher about getting a discount on the prime roast because of
what I've endured here today.
The butcher shut him down, saying that it's against store policy unless it's the day before it was going to expire. Needless to say, Karen didn't look me in the eye because he lost the war, and we lost a crappy customer who only shops to pick fights just to get discounts. I never got called into the back office or anything. I suspect he's going to go to corporate to complain, lie. But we'll see. If I get in trouble or fired. No worries if I do. I hate it here. Except for my friends I've made here. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 36. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their... Ooh, that sounds so good, doesn't it? Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, today I got my acoustic panels I've been waiting on. They're not mounted on the walls yet, but I'm sure you can definitely hear a difference in this video. I will hopefully be able to mount them this weekend if I have time. But even right now, things sound much, much better. The echo is greatly reduced. It's not completely gone, but it's better than it's ever been in this recording space. So now I'm thinking another 2 or 3 packs of these. They're a good size. It's essentially basically a wooden frame with foam and acoustic foam on the inside and colored fabric over it. I got 4 purple, 4 black, so I'm going to alternate, and they look quite nice. Good color, actually, than the purple. The black is, well, it's black, so, you know, not much to be surprised by there. I would have been surprised if it was charcoal or something, so I opened them up, like, oh, please make sure they've sent me the right colors they have. I'll just have to see how I go about mounting them. And next year, another 2 or 3 packs. Go with the same colors. I'll need more for the walls, and I definitely need some to be mounted on the ceiling. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I do know it's doable. I think it's basically just four little hooks, and then you string it like a picture, I'd imagine, and then hook that to the ceiling. It should be fine, safe to do. But yeah, if this is what I'm getting so far, then I think with the rest of that should pretty much solve the problem. And it makes me feel a lot better, not only being in the bedroom just in general, which is where I record, just because there's no echo. It feels a lot warmer, feels a lot cozier, and it sounds better. I can hear it now just as I'm talking. So much better. And listening to it back, I did a little test thing. Whenever I'm testing something, I'll grab like an excerpt from my favorite book or something. So I put a little Good Omens clip up on Discord, just because I love Good Omens. So it was a good time. I wouldn't put that up on here because, you know, I can't. I'm not going to put it in a place where I'm earning a living. But it sounded good, and I was just very, very happy. So I'm a very pleased Hellfreezer right now. Lots more to do to make it perfect, but very good start. Very good start indeed. Okay. Do we have birthday shoutouts today? That's a very good question. Today's date is the 14th. No, the rest. I think the next one's the 16th, actually. Alright, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.